Hello, Internet. This is Ewan Spence and ESC Insight calling. Sometimes a famed story is just a story, but the Eurovision Song Contest remains. Coming up, the most Serene spectacle is back, the TaP is turned off, and Portugal discovers Sweden. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Insight News podcast from myself, Ewan Spence, and the team at ESC Insight, keeping you up to date with the world of the Eurovision Song Contest. Of course, we know those big dates. Let's go over them once more. It is the grand final on May the 11th, 2024 in Malmö. We have the semi-finals on the 7th and the 9th of May. And as always, you can go and book your hotels, your flights, whatever right now. But we would always recommend making sure either they are cancelable, refundable, or you're happy to take the risk in losing everything. It is a long way away, but it is just as close as well. And our top tips, you must know these by now. You're going to know them by April next year. Trust me on that one. It's in Malmö Arena. It's near the bridge. It's much cheaper to fly into Copenhagen. And sometimes you might want to stay over there for more choice. Got it? Good. Okay, not a huge amount of news about the actual show in the last 2 weeks, but we do have a few more public confirmations of entries and the selection processes. Now, of course, public confirmation is not actually required. As long as you get the forms into the EBU as a broadcaster, then you're in. But that PR, we're coming forward, we are entering, it helps gather interest, might get some more submissions, might get a little bit more engagement from the music industry in your country. So most broadcasters will do this. So let's go through. We've got notes on 4 here. So we'll start with Portugal. This is both expected and unexpected in the same breath. Portugal broadcaster RTB. Portugal hasn't shown up in Eurovision in Sweden the last 3 times Sweden's hosted, 2016, 2013 and 2000. But it's turned up everywhere else and nobody knows why. But a new team came in to RTP and their song contest 2017 or so, revitalised Festival de Canção, revitalised Portugal's fortunes at the song contest. They've had some great results over the last 6 or 7 years. And now whatever happened before is not there now. So Portugal is going to be in Malmö and we look forward to what they're going to send for the first time since, the early 90s? Yeah, 1992. Right, okay, San Marino next. The most serene republic returns. Yay! As does their national selection envoy for San Marino. Yay! The smaller and more intimate San Remo in the Village Hall will once more delight the community. We're also promised to issue some wild cards, some bigger names going direct into the grand final. I mean, this was like 105 entries last year, so we're expecting lots of fun and games out of our smallest country to enter the contest. Although technically the Vatican City could enter as well. That would be smaller than San Marino. Vatican City at Eurovision. Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's been 8 years since their broadcaster BHRT has turned up, and we're going to push that out to 9 as well. Won't be there in Sweden for 2024's Eurovision due to, as always, the economic conditions and financial considerations inside the broadcaster. Finally, a rather non-committal but still positive statement from the Director General's office in Slovakia's RTV that we are thinking of participating. Now that's the PR statement. And naturally, look, hat on, most PR statements will generally avoid being negative while leaving wiggle room for later. In other words, say something nice, don't commit yourself, unless a denial is clearly obvious, as in the decision has already been made. So in this case, the decision clearly has not been made inside RTV, but neither are they ready to say yes yet. So we'll just leave the wiggle room there. And as we hear about acts who are interested, not interested, looking at considering being asked on the red carpet over the next few months as we go into the silly season of national selections, just keep that little bit of PR tip in mind. Okay, Okay, let's jump over to Junior Eurovision for a few bits and pieces there. We still are at 15 entries. Most of the news on Junior Eurovision entries in the last 2 weeks has been we're not going. So Azerbaijan not going, Australia not going. Of note of what we did pick up, Germany, who we already knew was going. Children's channel Kika will be using an internal selection. Broadcasters are returning after skipping 2022. And we got a couple of dates for national final broadcasts that you might want to take note of as well. Going backwards, September 24th will be Poland's grand final. September the 20th will be Albania's Junior Song Fest grand final. They've brought forward a submission deadline on this one. If you want to get an entry, you have till August the 15th. And this Saturday, as we record the podcast, is Malta's national selection of the artist for Junior Eurovision. Once the artist is known, submissions will open up for a song for the artist to sing. That song will be selected internally once we know the public selected act. That's August the 12th, this Saturday. So if you can get onto your Malta PBS and you're ready for all those classic Maltese adverts that we're all familiar with, well, we're not all familiar with, but those of you who watched Malta's national finals before will know that the classics will be there. Right, entry list into Eurovision in May. What do we have? 6 more countries added to the list. Australia, Azerbaijan, Portugal, San Marino, Ukraine and Lithuania, all taking us from 20 up to 26. Couple of notes about the selection processes as well. Switzerland has confirmed that it will be internal, and Ukraine has confirmed that they will be holding a selection. It's likely going to be called Vidbeer 2024, but that's speculation on my part. And of note, of course, Vidbeer 2023 took place in a studio in the Kiev underground, safe from the bombing of the capital city. What happens this year remains to be seen. And also in selection news, we should probably flag up the United Kingdom. Lots of chatter in the community following the announcement that the partnership between the BBC and TaP Music, that is no longer the case. TaP is no longer going to be working alongside the BBC to discover an artist for Eurovision. From all that we can see here, it's entirely amicable. TaP's team found Sam Ryder and May Muller, and while the news has left some in the community disheartened, just remember that there's many moving pieces in staging a Eurovision song. Finding the act, which is what TaP did, is just one of those. There's so much more that goes around here that, yeah, we do have to replace that cog in the machine. But, you know, the fortunes of Eurovision in the United Kingdom are on the up. Don't forget, 4 Eurovision songs in the top 10 after the contest. That will have been picked up by the industry with a great big bat signal. And I think the hunt will be easier this time around, looking for someone to help them find the artist, unless the artists have already approached them directly. So, yep, it is disappointing news. There was a good team before, but teams change. So we'll see what the team at the BBC and the teams at all the broadcasters pick up for 2024 as we head to Malmö and the next Eurovision Song Contest. Right, what do we got going around the internet that's worth highlighting? Well, we've got 2 on Insight. One of them is from myself. Why the United Kingdom and the BBC can't yet risk a national final. Obviously, with TaP no longer doing the selection, many in the community have said, let's just have a national final. We're not over multiple Saturday nights, we get the best song possible and send that to Eurovision. I don't think that the United Kingdom Eurovision fabric is ready for that. I don't think the BBC are, I don't think the media is, and I don't think the music industry is either. Editorial, obviously, and you'll be able to read that on our site. You also, while you're there, politics, voting and othering at the Eurovision Song Contest is an in-depth piece from Dr. Jamie Halliwell looking at the portrayal of the Song Contest of diasporic voting and how certain commentators, including Terry Wogan, really bent the Eurovision Song Contest in the wrong way in the eyes of the public. So in-depth, lots of research going on in that one. Coming soon, why Liverpool was a success for the BBC. We talk about success for the artist, but what about for the broadcaster? That's coming up soon as well. www.escinsight.com. Looking further afield, let's flag up the return of the Eurotrip podcast after their summer break. They've spoken to the head of show for Liverpool 2023, Lee Smithhurst, and he's talking about some of the behind-the-scenes work that the BBC was doing in Liverpool and around the contest. Fascinating listen. Grab a coffee for that one. And also congrats to Alexandra Kroger, who's brought the next edition of Lego Eurovision to the popular streaming video advert injecting website from Google. Yep, Liverpool 2023 immortalised with another stop motion performance from the world's favourite bricks, representing the world's favourite song contest. We'll have links to those back at our website. Thank you all very much for listening. A pleasure to bring you the news from the world of the song contest. We'll do the news again in 2 weeks. We'll have interviews and stuff next week. We'll have stuff on the website. And yes, it's still summer. It is still quiet, but Eurovision is still there for all of us to enjoy. Ta-ra for now. Here are our guitars. This edition of the Insight News podcast was hosted by Ewan Spence, written by Ewan and the team at ESC Insight. Find out more at www.escinsight.com and support us, patreon.com/ESC Insight.